You guys, Authentically Me, Regina V is back with another run video. How are you? I hope you're well. I hope you are in good health. The full moon is still out. And what planet is that right there? Maybe Jupiter or Venus? I don't know. But the moon is still out and it's really, really cool. As you can see, I'm in the truck. And I am headed to a 10K race. I'm gonna be meeting my friend down at the annual Plaza 10K race. I've ran a 10K so many times, but I've never run a 10K race, so this is going to be interesting. Today is, excuse me. Today is run day 1. 9 weeks to go. We are in our 9 week to go till my first half marathon. So I'm excited. I've never ran this particular race before, and I'm excited. Like, races always excite me, and it's because I think of it in several different ways. So the first thing is I'm just gonna remain secure within myself, not compare myself to anyone, not let any voices of insecurity rise up and reign over my run and, you know, make it even more challenging than it needs to be. Oh, I shouldn't have came this way. Oh, well, there's construction everywhere. But anyway, so that's the intention 1. The second intention is to remain grateful. I read in Psalms this morning and it says, I will meditate on all the works that you have done for me. So I ask God to help me have a mind and a heart that can just reflect and remember all of the blessings that he has showered upon me. Now, I know I'm not going to remember them all because they're too numerous to count already for my human mind. But I know and trust that if I ask, I will receive, and he will bless me to be able to recall to my mind all of the wonderful things that he has done for me. So looking forward to that. Then the other thing is, I always think about those who came before me, the ancestors before me. I'm actually running in an area where it was very segregated, and we weren't wanted people of this hue, lighter or darker, but melanated. This was an area that was very segregated, that we were kept out of as far as real estate wise. There's the Great Truce Divide, if you want to look, if you're a history person and you want to look up what I'm talking about. But there's the big Truce Divide, and Truce is a street here locally where I'm from. And once you get past a certain point, the major real estate agents back then would not sell houses to people of color in this area. And this area is still, it's 2022, but I'm from Missouri, so you know, it takes, you know, as advanced as sometimes I see people try to act around here mentally, we're still very, like, I still have people, well, not all the time, but there are some people that have this air of like, what's that black girl doing running? Like, black people don't run. Okay, watching Olympics. All right, but yeah, so you know, it's still very segregated in this area. So I am going to be thinking about just the people that came before me, that went through the things that they went through, so that I'm able to just, out of sheer enjoyment, able to go and run in an area where they were not wanted or allowed. So I'm going to be thinking about that. I have my guided run on the Nike Run Club app downloaded that I'm going to be listening to. It's the 10K race guided run with Coach Bennett. So I'm going to be listening to that, because once I get out there and I get around people, like, one thing for me that I've been working on throughout this journey to my first half marathon is pacing myself. I can pace myself on a treadmill, but it's so much easier because, first of all, you're not running forward, you know, you're running in place. Like, you know, you're just running in place. And so I can control my miles per hour. I know my foot strike. I know my stride. And so I can set the treadmill to a particular miles per hour, and I can run at that pace. You know, it's much easier. Doggone it. It's much easier for me to, you know, pace myself. When I'm out running, I've gotten better at the track and when I'm running by myself or when I was running with my friend. But in situations like this, God bless you. In situations like this, it's harder for me to pace myself because there's the excitement, there's, you know, other people running, you know, so there's I haven't ran this course before, so there's that energy and that anticipation of like how much further, what direction, how long are we going to be running on this road. So I'm really going to work at pacing myself. Today is a long run, and a 10K is a long run, but it was supposed to be my 8.5 mile run, so I'll probably do that another day. So I feel good, you know, I feel confident. I feel like I know that I can finish. You know, it's just, you know, my future self has already finished the race. It's just myself right now that's excited. So I'm really looking forward to that. What else? My friend, she's actually, she signed up to run it with me. She said that she's ran it like four or five times. So she's running it. We're going to start out together. And then she was like, you do your thing. Because she's getting back into her running. Like, she's a runner, but she's getting back into it. And so she's one of those people. I love her. I love my friend. She's one of those people that's like, go be great. Like, don't wait for me. Don't feel like you have to wait for me. We'll see each other at the end. You know, if you feel like you're ready to kick it up and take it off, then, you know, go ahead. So I love that about my friend. And I love the fact that that's her personality. And I don't have to worry about, you know, if she's going to, you know, feel some type of way if I take off and leave her. I've had friends like that in the past that's how they are. Like, you gonna leave? And it's like, yeah, we'll see each other. But anyway, that is what we are doing today. It is early, y'all. It is early. It is 6:45 and the race begins at 7:30. I told myself until my half marathon, this is just a suggestion. We're not going to put a period in it. We're not going to write it in permanent ink. But I had told myself when I woke up and was, you know, preparing for this, I'm like, I'm probably not going to sign up for another race until my half marathon race, because this is just so early. And I get it, like my friend, she's in school right now, she's working full time and she's interning at another job. So I get it. She wants to get this out of the way and go home and like chill the rest of this Sunday. For me, I'm just like, this is so early. Like, I'm gonna have fun, and yes, it's cool that I'm gonna get this run out of the way so early and have the rest of the day to relax and recover. But it's also like, why so early? I mean, they do have runs, like they had a midnight Stranger Things run or something like that, but I wasn't interested. So anyway, headed down to the Plaza, going to run this 10K, the annual Plaza 10K race for the first time. And we're gonna see how it goes. I'm gonna let you guys know how it goes on the ride back. And we're just gonna get after it and we're gonna have fun. The sun is rising, the moon is still in the sky, it hasn't set yet. So I will be back on to let you guys know how the race goes. What is up, Survivor Thrivers? Authentically me, Regina B, is here to update you on today's race. If you didn't see in the introduction, today is Sunday, September the 11th. It is run day 1, and it is the first run of 9 weeks to go until my first half marathon. And today's run was a long run, but it wasn't the progressively longer run that I've been doing every Sunday. Because last Sunday, I believe I went 8 miles, and this Sunday would have been 8.5, but I signed up for a 10K race. And so I let that just be my long run, and I may get that 8.5 long run done at some other point throughout this week. With that being said, why did I do that? Hold on, I'm cooking dinner. With that being said, so the run, great, beautiful conditions, low 60s, sunny, wind gusts, like soft and gentle. It didn't feel like I had to like press through any strong winds, just nice and gentle winds. The atmosphere was very encouraging. There were people of all races, people of all genders, people of all sizes, people of all run levels. So that was really, really nice. I ran it with my friend, and she's very encouraging because she's like, listen, run your race. When you're ready to get into whatever your race goal is, get into it. Don't feel like you have to go my pace or, go along with me and not leave me. And I didn't have a goal going in mind other than wanting to complete a 10K race. I've ran 10Ks on my own. I've done a couple of virtual 10Ks, but I've never done a 10K race. This is my first one. So my goal was just to take it easy, to be secure and confident in my run, not to be like overly competitive with anyone. We all have a little bit of competitiveness in us, but I didn't want to be overly competitive with anyone. And I feel like I was able to accomplish that. I made sure that my shoes were comfortable. I did some self-care and like cut down my toenails really, really far so that they were not pressing into my shoe at all. My legs felt good. My breathing was under control and relaxed. My heart rate didn't go too high. I mean, it was in like the 170, but it didn't go too high, and it averaged out in like 168 or something like that. My running form felt really good. I made sure to work on keeping my shoulders down and relaxed. I made sure to work on, having a good arm string, arm swing, and I know now that if your upper body is relaxed and your form is good in your upper body, that supports your lower body, and your legs and your feet just land where they're supposed to. So I made sure that I did that, and I finished my race, and I believe I averaged out at an average pace of 11:20, which is what I wanted to do. So I started out slow for mile 1, and then once we got into mile 2 and mile 3, I think even mile 4, you'll see in the stats at the end, I was able to go down into the low 10s, and then to finish out miles 5 and 6 in the point, 2.3 or 0.35, I was, in the 11s. So it's like I did a nice, easy warm up. Then I got some progressively fast running in there. And then I feel like those last miles was like a cool down mile. I did walk towards the end a couple of times, but us runners know that walking does not take away from the fact that you're a runner. So that was good, and I finished my race, and I finished it in, my app, because I used my Nike Run Club app, and I listened to the Guided Run, the 10K race by Coach Bennett. So my app actually had me done 5 minutes before the course had me done. So yeah, like 4 or 5 minutes. So I finished, so technically on my app, I have 6.35 miles done today. And it had me done, you'll see in the stats. With the race, it had me done at like 1 hour and 11 seconds or something like that. So I had to go a little bit far, but I listened from Coach Bennett's coaching and from doing 5K races that the GPS and the chip are two different things. And so the GPS is going to do what it's going to do. So if this run comes to an end before you've actually made it across the finish line, be sure to cross the finish line of your race. And I did, and it was great. Like, it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience, a wonderful race. I did not feel like I overexerted myself. I didn't feel like I went out too hard, and I ran my race. And when I wanted to walk, I walked. And I think I ran majority of it, and I didn't walk. I walked like 2 or 3 times between mile 5 and the end. So I feel like that was really good. There's nothing wrong with doing a recovery walk and just gathering yourself. And there were a few inclines in there. Because of our community, my friend and I, we live by each other, I wouldn't consider them hills. I would consider them incline. And one was like a steep incline, and the rest of them were like little incline pushes, but there weren't any major hills that I had to suffer through. So it was great. It was a great experience. I'm so glad I went out. I got my medal. I'll share my medal with you guys, and then I'll share the other part of the day with you guys. So here is the medal. It's my biggest medal to date that I have, and here it is. Plaza 10K. And I also got a badge on the Nike app, 10K on a Sunday. But this is my badge, and I'm really happy with it. And I like the design. It's really big. If you can see, this is the Plaza, and then these are people running. So it's a really beautiful, beautiful medal. One of my bigger ones and a really good detailed one. And then at the end, they also gave you, this is the charity that the run was supporting. And let me get that out of the way, somebody text me. This is the charity that the run was supporting, St. Luke's Home Care and Hospice. And my great-grandmother was on hospice, and they were just great. They were so great with us and preparing us for her death. And I was able to be in the room with other family members, like my mom, my grandmother, my cousin, and we were able to be in there when she took her last breath. And great service, you know. So I'm glad that the charity went to this. Now the other side of it, Lord. So it is 5:16. So mind you, the race started at 6:30, and you know, the introduction was done in the car, so I was gonna plan on giving you guys an update as I made my way home in my truck. This is an example of why you need to listen to your first voice, your spirit, your intuition, your conscience. This story right here. So I have my keys and I have a lanyard. It's a Nike lanyard, and it goes over my head, and you know, that's what a lanyard is. So I have my keys, right? I have everything that I need for my run, and as I'm getting out of the car to go meet my friend so we can get to the starting line, I literally think in my head to put my lanyard around my neck. I then talk back to myself and say, oh, I don't like when it bounces around when I run, so I'm just gonna shove it in my pocket. I also shoved my Ray-Ban sunglasses, like I wore this jacket. It's technically a golf jacket, but it was great for the morning conditions because the run started out in the 50s. And by the time, you know, done and sweat, there were moments when I was like, ooh, it's chilly. So had my sunglasses in my jacket pocket, because when you started out, as you know, in the early mornings, when I was in the car making my way, the sun wasn't all the way up, and I planned on putting the glasses on when the sun, you know, rose and it had risen. Talk myself out of it. I'm like, I don't like it to bounce. Put my keys in my pocket, right? Why did I lose my keys? I lost my keys. And so I'm like, oh man, I'm hopeful that someone will turn them in. I'm hopeful of this. Like, so hopeful that I even called the store that was associated with the run and gave them my number and said, can you please call me when the race director gets there and let me know if he finds my keys. We stopped and asked the police officer if anyone had turned in keys. He actually was so kind. He got on dispatch and asked all of his police buddies if anybody had found keys. No. I went to the race trailer and asked if anybody had turned in keys. He said yes, but someone's already picked them up, so clearly they are not mine, because nobody's going to pick up keys that are not theirs. Then we walked around for a little bit we walked to the start of where the race was, and we kind of walked in a little bit to where the early parts of the run were, because that's really when I feel like I lost them. No, we did not happen upon them just in the street. Made our way back to the race trailer, asked if anybody in the time that we had been gone had turned in keys. He said, unfortunately not, but he told us to go to another tent that was associated with the Kansas City Running Company, and no one had turned it in. But the lady was so nice. She was like, that literally happened to me before 1 year. She was like, I thought I had tied my key around my shoestring and it came out, which is really clever actually when you think about it. And she was like, so I know what you're going through. And I'm like, oh my gosh, So then I'm like, well, I know we have a spare key at home. So my friend was like, I got you. I'll run you to the house and I'll drop you, and just, you look for the key and you just let me know when you're ready to go back down there, and I'll take you to your car if, you find your spare. So we're looking for my spare. My husband and I are like, we both saw the spare the last time in the same spot, which was on our dresser. But with 3 little ones running around, and even my teenage son, they are rummagers. But my little ones, they are rummagers and they're pretend players. So long story short, we do not find the spare key. We had to call a locksmith. So we called the locksmith. Me and my friend head back down towards the plaza, and the locksmith calls, and it's going to be basically like an hour, he said, because he has somebody in front of me. It's going to be an hour. I'm like, okay. So I'm giving him time. I'm trying to be patient. I'm trying to fight that negative voice pattern. And my friend was really good at helping me as well. She was like, girl, you crazy. But I was trying to, fight those negative thought patterns that was coming up, because I had actually called another service and the dispatcher routed me to the same guy. So when an hour and 15 came around, I was like, my thought, and I spoke it. I said, what if he's making me wait a long time because I tried to go through another company, so he's just making me wait? And she was like, girl, you crazy, no. And I was like, yeah, that is a negative thought. That's not true. So my husband calls me. He's like, where are we at? And I'm like, he said it'd be about an hour. We're at about an hour and 15. I'm going to give him another 10 minutes or so, and I'm going to give him a call. Because I used to be a cosmetologist, so I know how jobs go, I know how, when you're in the service industry, how it goes. Sometimes you end up running behind, or the client causes you to run behind. So I give him that amount of time. I call him, and he's like, oh, I literally called my partner about 2 minutes ago to ask them if they could take over your job, because what I'm doing right now is just taking longer than I expected, and he should be able to get to you within about 15-20 minutes. I'm like, okay, cool. So then the other guy calls me, and he's like, okay, so I have a job I'm finishing up, and I have another job in front of you, so it'll be an hour and 30 minutes. I'm like, okay. And so I'm thinking at this point, why would you send me your partner who is going to make me wait even longer? So he's just like, yeah, around 2:30. Mind you, we have been sitting at this coffee shop on the plaza for the whole entire time, the whole hour and 30 minutes. So I was like, huh. So I said, okay to him. But then I called the other guy back, and I'm like, well, how long do you have before you're done with your job? Because he's saying that he's not going to be able to get to us for another hour and a half until 2:30. And so he's like, oh, no. I would have never asked him to take over your job if I knew that. He's like, I will be done 30-40 minutes at the top, at the most. And so I'm like, okay, I would rather do that than wait another hour and 30 minutes, which my homegirl was like, girl, I got you. If I need to just let you take my car and you do that, we'll do that. And so, because, my husband was watching the girls. So, and this is our only truck. So luckily with that, we're like, okay, we'll just wait around here for a little bit longer. He did end up showing up within 40 minutes. And then he did end up showing up within 30 minutes. So the price quote that they gave me over the phone was starting at $120. This is where I'm overly positive in my thinking. So is there an overly positive cognitive behavioral therapy worksheet for that? Because I was overly hopeful. I'm thinking like, okay, 120. And so he gets to us. He gets to working on the car. He gets to making up the key. And then he makes the key and he shows me like, okay, well, your truck needs a chip in it. And so I'm like, okay, so he shows me, he's like, see how I started and it shows you the little lock? It's because it needs a chip in it for it to actually turn the engine over. So I'm like, okay. And so he says, so with me making the key and installing the chip, it's $225 for the key and then it's $80 for the installation of the chip. I said, okay, so $305. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, ugh. I text my husband the price and he's like, I mean, we got to do it. We don't have no choice. We got to do it. And so I was like, I gave him the go ahead. It took about another 25 minutes to get the whole thing done. And then we get it done. He gets paid. Being an adult, man, he gets paid. And I finally am able to make it back home. And I got home right before my husband needed to leave to go to his friend's house to watch the Chiefs game. And I really wanted to make sure that I made it home in time for him to go and be there at the start of the game and hang out with his friend. Because he really doesn't do anything. Like, I do a lot of things that I enjoy and he doesn't. And one thing he enjoys is hanging out with his friends and watching the football games. So I really wanted to make that happen, you know. Come in, give him a hug, you know, send him off and just try to gather myself. I did a 25-minute stress relief restorative yoga flow, and it really helped me just release that stress and let it go. My friend was reminding me, like, do not be hard on yourself. Like, don't beat yourself up about this. You know, she was like, I know you're doing good because we're together and I'm helping you. But when you get home and Phil's gone and you're alone, don't get to beating yourself up about this. And so I really didn't. So when I was doing yoga, I was like, just let it go. Whenever she would be like, you know, notice anywhere that you're holding tension, whether it be in your head and your shoulders and your hips. I tend to hold my tension in my shoulders. And I literally felt myself, when she said, let it go, I felt my shoulders go. And I was just like, I let it go. So that was a very expensive, long, stressful, tedious way for me to yet again be reminded to listen to your first voice, your spirit, your conscience, your intuition, because it told me put this around your neck. And I literally talked myself out of doing that. And it's like, to me, how I see it, how my mind works, is that was God's way of giving me a choice, of knowing the two possibilities and knowing which way I would go, but giving me some help. Because we know that the Holy Spirit is a comforter, a counselor, a helper, you know, in place of Jesus Christ ascending. And so that was a help to me, for me to be like, okay, I need to put this around your neck. And for me to then go, is that fleshy person that's like, oh no, I don't like running like that. I want to put it in my pocket. And now I learned that had I went with that first instinct, we wouldn't have went through everything that we went through today. And me and my family would be $305 richer. So I love how my friend said, you know, a lot of stuff, it'll either take your time or take your money. And today, our money definitely got taken. So listen to your first voice. Listen to your instinct. It's your helper. It's your counselor. It's your spirit, your conscience, whatever you want to call it, however you look at it. But it is trying to help you so that you won't experience whatever it knows because of its connection to the Father. You will experience if you don't do it. But ultimately, it is your choice. It is your choice to choose whether to listen to that voice or whether to listen to your other voice, basically saying, no, I don't want to do that because it bounces on my chest. And I don't like when my keys bounce when I'm running on my chest. I would have preferred that option versus losing them out of my pocket and having to wait all this time and use up all this energy and build up all this stress and wear it in my pocket. Like, it totally isn't worth it. So from me to you, please make sure that you trust yourself, that you listen to your instinct, that you go with that first voice, as I tell my children. And this was a learning experience. And I bet I won't let it happen again. I bet I will be like, yes ma'am, around my neck. I bet I will take a little bit step back and be like, I'm gonna go with my first thought. So I hope that helps you. I hope that encourages you. I hope that you've had a beautiful, stress-free Sunday. And if you haven't, try some stress relief yoga. Pray about it. Breathe. Let it all out however you feel. And just don't be too hard on yourself. Mistakes are good. Like, I know that in this world we're taught, you make a mistake, or you do this. Mistakes are good when we learn from them. And this was just a learning experience. It's something that's not going to happen again. And moving forward, I intend to more actively be aware of my first thought, which I always teach my children that anyway. If you've made it to this part of the video, thank you so much for spending your time with me. You could have spent it doing anything else, but you decided to spend 21 minutes and 57 seconds with me, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you're on your journey, if you've experienced anything like this before. And if you are on your journey, leave a comment as to what your why is. And try to get out there and get after whatever your get after is. If you're able to get out of it, get after it. I love you. God loves you.